Picture the most talented quarterback in the AFC North, a man making $55 million a year, a man who has torn his ACL, strained his calf, hurt his wrist, battled a toe injury that cost him 8 games last season, a man whose entire franchise, whose entire fan base, whose entire championship window rests on the health of his right arm and the availability of his legs. Now, picture that man throwing a pick six in the first quarter, nearly having his pants literally ripped off his body while scrambling for a touchdown, getting outscored 24-14 by a team of professional flag football players that most casual sports fans had never heard of 2 weeks ago, getting publicly roasted by Tom Brady on a stage in Los Angeles in front of the entire sports world. And then, when all of this is played out in front of millions of viewers and the internet has had its full, glorious, completely merciless reaction to every single moment of it, standing in front of reporters and saying with complete sincerity and complete conviction that he would do it all again, that he wants to keep doing it, that he wants to do it all the way to the 2028 Olympics. That is Joe Burrow. March 21st, 2026, Los Angeles, BMO Stadium, the Fanatics Flag Football Classic. And the question that every person who watched what happened on that field, every Bengals fan who spent the entire event one play away from a panic attack, every analyst who watched Team USA absolutely dismantle an NFL roster made up of some of the most talented players in the world, every person who has been following this story since Burrow first announced his Olympic ambitions 4 days ago, has been asking since the final whistle blew, is the same question. Why? Why is Joe Burrow doing this? Why is the most expensive quarterback in the AFC risking his body, his reputation, and his Bengals season on a sport he had never seriously practiced before stepping onto a flag football field in California? What is the real reason behind all of this? What does Joe Burrow actually get from flag football that he cannot get from anything else in his already extraordinary life? The answer, when you dig past the surface level, past the "he just wants to have fun" narrative and the "it's just a marketing event" dismissal, is actually one of the most revealing, most psychologically fascinating, most genuinely human stories in all of sports right now. And it starts not in Los Angeles on March 21st. It starts in a childhood in Athens, Ohio, where a kid named Joe Burrow grew up watching the Olympics the same way every American kid grows up watching the Olympics, with the kind of wide-eyed, goosebump-covered, "I want to be that one day" wonder that never fully leaves you, no matter how many things you accomplish later in your life. Burrow himself put it as plainly and as honestly as he ever puts anything. "I've always wanted to play in the Olympics," he said at the Fanatics Flag Football Classic press conference. "I've never necessarily played an Olympic sport before, so when this got announced, I was pretty excited about it. The opportunity to win a gold medal, something that I've thought about, a moment like that, for a long time, since I was a kid. I think it would be something very special." Since I was a kid. Those 4 words are the whole answer. Everything else, the risk calculation, the injury concern, the organizational anxiety, the flag football performance that went sideways, the internet mockery, the Brady roasting, all of it exists in the light of those 4 words. Since I was a kid, Joe Burrow has dreamed about the Olympics, not about the NFL, not about the Super Bowl. The United States men's national flag football team won all 3 of its games, combining to outscore its opponents 106-46, while scoring on every possession except a kneel down. From Burrow to Jalen Hurts, no quarterback could get it going against them, as both players registered demoralizing pick sixes in their time on the field. On heavy sports, 106-46, scoring on every possession except a kneel down. These are not the numbers of a competitive exhibition where the NFL stars were holding back and taking it easy on the flag football players. These are the numbers of a sport-specific mismatch, of experienced athletes in their element against world-class athletes who are learning a new sport from scratch in real time. And the gap was so large, so visible, so impossible to explain away with "they just needed more practice time," that it fundamentally changed the Olympic conversation. The players who have dedicated their lives to flag football, the athletes who built this sport from nothing, who traveled the world competing at international flag football tournaments when the NFL was not paying attention, who developed the techniques and the teamwork and the game-specific intelligence that allowed Team USA to score on every possession against NFL superstars. Those players had something to say about the assumption that the Olympic roster would simply be handed to NFL stars. U.S. flag football QB Darrell Doucette fired back directly. He called it disrespectful for NFL players to assume they would get a roster spot for the Summer Games in 2028. D-Dogs by nature, disrespectful. That word landed hard, and it deserved to land hard. Because the conversation that had been happening around the 2028 Olympic flag football team for the last year, the conversation that treated the roster spots as NFL players to claim rather than competitive athletes to earn, was built on an assumption that March 21st in Los Angeles shattered completely. The assumption was simple. Flag football is kind of like what NFL players already do. NFL players are the best football players in the world. Therefore, NFL players will naturally dominate flag football at the Olympics. Simple logic. Completely wrong. Because flag football is not kind of like what NFL players do. It is its own thing, and the people who do that thing professionally, who have trained in it, lived it, competed internationally in it for years, are genuinely, demonstrably better at it than NFL players who are learning it as a hobby. After the event, veteran NFL analyst Albert Breer raised concerns that go beyond just the performance. He warned that putting NFL stars in the Olympics might actually conflict with the goal of building the best possible Team USA roster. Because if the selection criteria is name recognition and NFL celebrity rather than actual flag football ability, then Team USA may show up at the 2028 Olympics in Los Angeles with the most famous players rather than the most qualified ones. And famous does not always mean best, as March 21st definitively proved. A pro football network, and yet, knowing all of this, having lived through the pick six and the pants nearly coming off and the 24-14 loss and the internet going wild about his performance and Bengals fans having their collective heart attack, Joe Burrow has not backed off. He has not reconsidered. He has not issued a statement saying, you know what, I watched that tape and I think I should let the actual flag football professionals handle the Olympics. He is still talking about it, still expressing genuine excitement, still saying since I was a kid, still chasing the gold medal. Burrow managed to get his unit down the field before ultimately scrambling his way into the end zone. Unfortunately for him, even that would be hilariously undermined by the fact that he nearly had his pants ripped off while doing so. Of course, the real concern resided in Burrow taking the risk of participating at all. Thankfully, for as frustrating a day as it might have been for Burrow, everyone was able to survive the event without provoking any kinds of career-altering injuries. Career-altering injuries, the phrase that every Bengals fan reads and exhales deeply. Because this time, this specific event, on this specific day, everything was okay. Burrow survived. No torn ligaments, no strained wrist, no toe injury adding to the medical file that already has more chapters than it should for a 29-year-old quarterback. He walked off that field in Los Angeles the same way he walked onto it, humbled by Team USA, slightly embarrassed by the internet, and completely undeterred about what comes next.
Now I want to tell you the real reason. The actual, deepest, most honest explanation for why Joe Burrow is doing this. Not the childhood dream narrative, though that is real and true and important. Not the competitive instinct that makes him incapable of watching something without wanting to be the best at it, though that is also real. The real reason is something that lives at the intersection of who Joe Burrow is as a competitor and what his professional life in Cincinnati has actually been like. And to understand it, you have to spend a moment thinking honestly about the Bengals situation. Joe Burrow has a $55 million per year contract. He has a Super Bowl appearance on his resume. He has a Heisman Trophy and a national championship from his college career. He has one of the most devoted fan bases in the NFL. And for the last several years, despite all of that, despite everything he brings to the field every single Sunday, he has been operating in a professional environment that has consistently, repeatedly, maddeningly failed to give him the organizational support his talent deserves. The offensive line has been a chronic vulnerability. The defensive roster, while showing improvement, has not been built to the championship level that his quarterback play demands. The front office has made decisions that, by the honest assessment of multiple respected analysts, have left Burrow to do more with less more often than a $55 million franchise quarterback should ever have to. The Fanatics event, produced by Fanatics and held at BMO Stadium, the exact venue slated for LA 28 flag football, suddenly feels like a scouting ground. And the timing matters. With the NFL offseason underway, stars are trading contact for quick cuts and open field creativity. This is no backyard football. It is a different sport layered over familiar fundamentals. The Olympic roster will favor explosiveness over size, improvisation over structure. Those are two of Joe Burrow's defining traits as a quarterback: the ability to create when the play breaks down, the pocket awareness and the quick release, and the willingness to improvise outside of structure. These are exactly the skills that flag football rewards, and exactly the skills that make Burrow theoretically well-suited to the sport, even if his March 21st performance suggested he has real technical learning to do. And the 2-year runway, the time between now and the 2028 Los Angeles Games, is enough for a competitor of Burrow's caliber to close the gap between where he is now and where he needs to be if he genuinely wants to make that Olympic roster. Because here is something that the Burrow got embarrassed by Team USA narrative completely misses. Every single great athlete who has ever competed in the Olympics in a sport outside their primary discipline has had a learning curve. Every single one. The skills transfer imperfectly. The specific technical demands of the new sport are different from anything the athlete has done before. And the athletes who have dedicated their careers to that specific sport are better at it. Initially, inevitably, obviously better at it. The learning curve is real. The gap is real, and closing it requires exactly what Joe Burrow is doing: showing up, competing, getting embarrassed, watching the tape, understanding what flag football actually requires at the elite level, and then going and getting that better. 2 years from now, at the actual Olympics in Los Angeles, in his own stadium effectively, the city he has adopted as his cultural headquarters during a celebrity offseason that has made him one of the most recognizable athletes in the country. Burrow threw an interception that was returned for a touchdown by Team USA's Isaiah Calhoun, giving the opposition an early advantage. It was almost immediately apparent that the NFL players had limited time to fully practice flag football and were still adjusting to the subtle intricacies and nuances of the sport. Team USA's dominant showing reinforced that NFL stars won't automatically excel without adapting to their game. The nuances of the sport. Burrow, who built his NFL career on understanding nuances that other quarterbacks miss, on processing information faster and more accurately than almost anyone at the position, is going to learn those nuances.
And here is what nobody is talking about, but what I think is actually the most important piece of this whole story. The 2028 Olympics are in Los Angeles. Flag football debuts as an Olympic sport. The audience is not the AFC North fan base or the Cincinnati television market or even the broader NFL viewership. The audience is the entire planet. 3 billion people who watch the Summer Olympics. People in countries where American football is a complete mystery, where the NFL exists as this distant, exotic, vaguely violent spectacle that they have heard about but never connected with personally.
And the player leading Team USA's flag football program, the quarterback who is already one of the most famous athletes in America, whose cultural footprint has already extended well beyond football into celebrity and fashion and entertainment, becomes, in that Olympic moment, the face of American football to the entire world. That is a platform that dwarfs any Super Bowl appearance. That is a cultural reach that no individual NFL season can match. And Joe Burrow, who has been building towards something beyond football for years, who has been cultivating a public persona that transcends sport in ways that almost no athlete at his position has managed, understands exactly what the Olympics represents as a platform. Not just for him personally, for the sport he loves. For the game of football's ability to reach a global audience that has never had an entry point before. He is setting the tone, and with 4 years to go, well, 2 years now, the race for Team USA flag football quietly kicked off in Los Angeles, and Burrow is leading it. And there is one more layer to this, one more real reason that sits underneath the childhood dream and the competitive drive and the global platform, and it is the most human, most vulnerable, most quietly important reason of all. Joe Burrow has played through injuries his entire career. He has had surgeries and rehab programs and games missed and seasons derailed. He has competed in an AFC North division that sends 3 of the best defensive players in football, T.J. Watt, Myles Garrett, and now Max Crosby, after him twice every year. He has operated behind an offensive line that has not protected him the way a $55 million quarterback deserves to be protected. He has done all of that with the same composure, the same precision, the same quarterbacking excellence that makes everyone who watches him play understand that they are watching one of the genuinely great ones of his generation. But football is violent, and careers end, and no quarterback, no matter how talented, no matter how physically gifted, no matter how meticulously prepared, can guarantee that the injury that ends everything is not just one play away. And Joe Burrow, who knows this better than most because he has already lived through multiple serious injuries, is a man who wants to make sure that when his football career is over, when the last snap is taken and the jersey is retired and the career is complete, he did not leave anything on the table, did not say no to any opportunity, did not let a childhood dream stay just a dream when the chance to actually pursue it presented itself. The 2028 Olympics is right there, 2 years away, in his adopted home city, in a sport that is tailor-made for his specific athletic gifts, explosiveness, improvisation, quick release, football intelligence. And the only thing standing between Joe Burrow and that gold medal dream is 2 years of learning a sport he has never seriously practiced, qualifying for a Team USA roster that the professional flag football community is rightfully defending, and surviving the NFL seasons that come before it. Many have already voiced concerns about whether or not the event will be considered as a bad look for the NFL, but that likely won't be for very long. Much like the Pro Bowl, there is an understood level of casualness that comes with these kinds of extracurricular events for football stars, and the national team has now proven themselves capable of outdoing some of the nation's most elite athletes. If this event is to be remembered as anything, it will likely be as the day that Team USA legitimized its claim as the rightful representatives of their sport. Team USA legitimized its claim. That is the most important outcome of March 21st in Los Angeles. Not Joe Burrow's pick 6, not the pick on Jalen Hurts, not the 106-46 scoreline. The most important thing that happened at BMO Stadium on Saturday is that the people who actually play flag football, who built it, who dedicated their lives to it, who traveled the world competing in it before the NFL paid any attention, proved beyond any doubt that they belong in the Olympic